Hi, my name is János, and some of you might know me from my other channel called Solaris Traveler. And I'm here now to talk about my brain tumor and my upcoming surgery in 3 weeks' time, when they are going to remove my brain tumor from the front left of my brain. What inspired me to start this channel is an interview I saw with Nikki Chapman yesterday, in which she explained how she found out about her brain tumor. So basically why it's important that I've seen this Nikki Chapman interview is because she was talking about how she wanted to keep this whole thing private, but then she basically realized that she could help other people by coming out about this diagnosis. And I would like to do the same thing, because I know that when I was first diagnosed, how lost I felt and how difficult the whole situation was, not knowing what it is and what to expect, and the whole thing, basically how I was just there in that room with the nurse when she told me I've got this brain tumor. I kind of felt like the earth opening under me, and I had no idea what to think or say. And I imagine a lot of people are in the same shoes when they get the delivery of this terrible news. What helped me most was the fact that I could talk to other people about it, some support groups and meetups with the brain tumor charities. And I guess if people can watch this video with me talking about my feelings and what I went through, then they could relate, and then, I don't know, figure out some ways how to say it. Basically, that might help them to come up with solutions to their own problems in their own way. My journey starts in Hastings in Sussex in the summer of 2017, when I was down there for a weekend, feeling fine. I was playing on the computer all evening, then I had a bath and went to bed after dinner around 10 or 11 o'clock. The next thing I remember was waking up in the living room, curled up on the sofa, in pain in my limbs, my legs and arms and chest and everywhere, and I couldn't remember a single thing from anything in my life. I couldn't even recall my name or anything. It took me about half an hour to regain my consciousness and remember that I had a mobile phone, which I used to call the last person on the calling list. Then I crawled across the floor to my laptop, tried to retrace my steps from the previous days or weeks through my emails and conversations with friends, and then slowly I figured out who I was or what I was doing there. I wasn't actually sure why I ended up in that flat. I had no recollection of ever owning that flat or ever going there or anything. Anyway, I went down to the A&E that same morning. They did some blood tests and we had a chat. This being Hastings, a drug den, they thought that I was probably an alcoholic or a drug addict, having another rough morning. But I told them I don't drink or take drugs or anything, but they couldn't find anything in my blood. How to say it without hurting anybody? I just felt like they were dismissing me, and then they told me to go home. So that's exactly what I did. I went back home, and the next morning I went down to my GP and complained about the pain and memory loss and all the rest. But she also just thought that I was an alcoholic or a drug addict. This went on for several weeks. She sent me to blood tests or x-rays and whatever, complete useless things. Even sent me to an HIV test, after which I complained to her and I said that I didn't think that she was taking me seriously. And I also said that she was probably just sending me to these tests because she was thinking I must have these problems because of my lifestyle or drinking heavily or being a drug addict, etc. So nothing really happened. All the test results came back fine. Nothing was showing up anything on the results. By this time it was November 2017, 3 or 4 months after I initially felt really bad that summer day. And for fuck's sake, I'm just rambling on. What do you think?
You missed out key things. So you kept on repeating alcoholic, drug addict, but you missed out the whole thing about how she belittled you, she asked if you believe in aliens and this and that.
Oh yes, the alien.
And then you started...
She even asked me if I believed that the aliens abducted me. Anyway, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here, because one of the problems with this fucking brain tumor is it's in the part of the brain where you struggle with your memory. It actually made me realize why I can't speak, because it's also in the speech section of your brain. So if I keep forgetting the words and I can't create a sentence from the beginning to the end, that's probably down to having an apple-sized brain tumor. And I'm actually getting a bit agitated now. But anyway, going back to my story, I visited my GP the next morning and I felt like she wasn't taking me seriously at all, because she asked me if I was an alcoholic or taking drugs. And then finally, that was the last straw for me. She even asked me if I believed in aliens, or if ever I thought that the aliens abducted me. And finally, she even sent me to an HIV test, after which I just had to ask her if she thought my lifestyle or anything had anything to do with my complaints. And she then said, oh, of course not. We just have to really tick all the boxes. But the problem is, by then it was November, or coming up to December actually, and all the test results came back negative, showing nothing. And I basically just lost my patience, and I never went back, because I just felt like she was completely useless, not even taking me seriously. And all the test results came back fine, so I thought maybe nothing was wrong with me, and the pizza that I had the night before was what was causing my problems. But then, almost exactly a year after the first memory loss, I had another one when I was on holiday in the US. I was driving from Los Angeles to Kingman in Arizona. Everything was fine. I went to bed. Before I went to bed, I had a shower. I was watching TV. Everything fine. Then I woke up again, not knowing anything, and I had like a feeling like my brain went jelly, and I couldn't recall my name, nothing. I was looking around, trying to figure out where I was. So here I was in Arizona, in the middle of the desert, not having a clue what I was doing there. Okay, it wasn't as serious as the first time, because I remembered my name. And I guess I reached out for my telephone, checked my text messages, etc. Then I figured out from the time zone that I was in the United States. What was it? In the US, that was 7 o'clock in the morning. So that time is about, what, 2-3 p.m. in the UK. So I called my friend, and then I was like asking how I ended up in the US. We basically had a chat for about 15-20 minutes. And by the end of it, I was back to normal. I had a banging headache, and I was sore in all my limbs and chest and neck and everything. But I thought, well, I didn't even know what I was thinking, because I was like, what on earth could it be? I went to bed fine the night before. I had a hamburger in the afternoon. I couldn't really even blame it on the food or anything. So I went to the pharmacy and I get the strongest painkiller that they had. I took like half of the box. That sort of calmed my headache, and I carried on with my road trip. But the problem was, I got so confused, I started driving back towards LA, which is the direction I was coming from. So I wasted half day driving the wrong way. Anyway, by the time I realized I was going the wrong direction, it was almost like, what, 10 o'clock, 10:30. So I turned around, went back to the hotel. I realized there was still time to check out, and I asked the housekeeper to give my key back. I went to the swimming pool that was really freezing cold. I went in, and that was what really helped me. The cold water, how to say, subdued my headache. I can't remember the word. That was really nice. I went into the cold water. I was in there for about half an hour. Then I had a nice cold shower in the room, packed my stuff, got in the car, and I started driving towards the Grand Canyon. Now, a week later, I was up near Salt Lake City, and I had the same problem. I woke up in the morning, had absolutely no idea what was going on. Fortunately, that time it only took about 15-20 minutes to get back to normal. Anyway, after the holiday, I went back to my GP and I filed an official complaint, and I said something must be seriously wrong with me if I had 2 more of those episodes. I talked to the office manager, who then said I should be referred to a specialist, and then they referred me to a neurosurgeon at Kingston Hospital, but they put me on a 4-month waiting list. I basically went furious about this. I mean, I already wasted almost a year and a half with waiting for them to refer me to an actual specialist. Never mind, I complained. Finally, they cut down the waiting list to a month and a half, still thinking I must just be a hypochondriac. I went to see the neurosurgeon. He asked for my family history, but the problem is I'm a completely healthy person. I go to the swimming pool, cycle every day, I travel, I drive long distances, I fly every other week. Nothing was wrong with me in my life. The longest illness I had was my tonsillitis. That was when I was 18 years old. Nothing since then. When I have a flu, maybe I'm off for an afternoon, I take my off-the-shelf medication. Sometimes I don't even take that. I just drink a tea or a chicken broth, and that helps me sleep it off, sweat it out, that's it. Basically, nobody was taking me seriously. They thought I was a hypochondriac, abducted by aliens, high on drugs, or an alcoholic. Anyway, that complaint helped. Finally, I went to see the neurosurgeon at Kingston Hospital on the 25th of January 2019, more than a year and a half after my initial memory loss in Hastings. In fact, by this time, I had already sold my flat and everything was cleared up. I wasn't even living in Hastings anymore. I moved up to Sutton in Surrey, so that's why I was referred to Kingston Hospital. I talked to the guy. I told him about my childhood, how I have nightmares sometimes, etc., etc. And he was like, maybe you should have an MRI scan and then EEG. And I had no idea what either of those were. Anyway, that was the 25th of January. He gave me the appointment for the 24th of February. I thought I was going to waste my time going into the MRI because they have found absolutely nothing with me for the past year and a half. What on earth would they find with me on the 24th of February? I lay in. I actually cycled to the hospital because I wanted to go for a longer cycle around Richmond Park. So I pop in, I say hello, we have a nice chat. I wait for about 10 minutes in the waiting room. Then I go lie into the donut. They do the big noisy examination. Then from the mirror, as I was lying there with the mirror in front of me, I could see they were running around in the examination room. I thought, oh my goodness, that something must be wrong. Then about 10 minutes later, the guy comes in, the button pusher guy, that he then told me he is not an expert, he's just looking at the images, and he had seen something that he thought should be further examined at the accident and emergency room. He walked me to the A&E. In that 5 minutes I was asking him why on earth I need to go to A&E if nothing is that seriously wrong. He said he cannot comment. I said, look man, you need to tell me what is wrong with me. Surely you are not just taking me to the A&E for a picnic. And then he says, yeah, I've seen something on the scan that should be further examined, but I cannot say any more because I'm just the operator of the machine here, so I cannot comment on what I see because I might give you something that is not the case. Then they admitted me to the A&E at Kingston Hospital. I was sitting there for like a couple of hours waiting for them to take my bloods, my blood pressure, but then I found out that they weren't going to do any more exams on me. They just sent my test results off to Tooting St. George's Hospital, where they have a living neurosurgeon, and he looked at my result. The junior doctor came to talk to me, and she said that I had a brain tumor. It's like, how on earth, why do you think I have a brain tumor? And she said that she talked to the people in Tooting Hospital, and they told her that on the scan they saw a tumor. Anyway, I'm gonna have to cut it short here because I'm coming up to the 15-minute limit for YouTube. I've started this channel and I need to do some other things to get a longer video limit. Anyhow, I hope this has helped so far, and if you are in the same shoes, just watch the next episode. By this time there might be a second episode or a third episode, or if not, just comment below and if I have the time, I will respond.